Hey there, and welcome back to Elden Ring and our narrative playthrough. Thank you for that. I do not remember what your name is, but I like the name of that, a narrative lore playthrough. Taking our time, going through it like it's our first time playing it and watching as the story unfolds without necessarily saying what all the answers are and what's going to happen. Now, you may notice this is not our normal character that we go through the game with. I kind of flubbed something in that recording when I was doing this part here, and while we could have just gone with it and made it work, it could be better. You know what I mean? So I took this guy and I brought him here. And I want you to appreciate this real quick. Ignore this. Skip right ahead to where the action starts if you want. But I want you to appreciate. This guy is now level 63. He started at level 50, having just defeated Rennala. I dragged him from here, defeating Rennala, to the manor, all the way into Caelid, clearing Radon, going down underground, going back up over here. Look at all these places I still haven't even done yet, and I dragged him through all these places just to get him here real quick, in about an hour and a half, which I don't know how fast, this and that, but I feel like I did pretty good for an hour and 30 minutes. So here we are, the Moonlight Altar. Now, I don't remember in the last video whether I said those beams were moonlight or starlight. I'm pretty sure they're starlight, because if it was moonlight, it'd be shooting kind of directly from the moon, I would imagine. And the coloration and everything, it is very reminiscent of starlight shards, right? When it's used by the Eternal City as ingredients in intoxicating draughts. And it's a passing flash of starlight. And it kind of makes sense that you would see a bunch here, because the moon is supposed to be a guide for the stars. But something to note here is we actually kind of look around. I mean, it's a pretty good view from here, but we got the big clear moon there. I kind of have the idea that it is waning right now, because Rennala is supposed to be the queen of the full moon, but Rennala is gone, kind of done, right? And I don't know that at any point we really see a full moon. I haven't really been tracking that, but I like the idea that it's a sort of waning moon. But if you kind of keep looking around at the sky, you can see that there is a second moon. I'm assuming it's a moon. I guess it could be something else. But I'm pretty sure it's another moon. And that's kind of crazy to think about. But it also kind of tracks with some of the things we've been reading, where we have Rennala guiding Ranni, and she sees the dark moon, right? And there used to be a black moon that hung above the Eternal City before it was destroyed, and it was used to make the memory stones. And so it makes sense that there would be multiple moons, and there might have even been a third moon that would literally hang, but maybe when Estelle came crashing down to, wreak judgment upon the Eternal Cities, it destroyed their moon. So, it's interesting. And so is that the dark moon that Ranni worships? It kind of makes sense, because there's some things that kind of give it as like a dark kind of nature. So yeah, that could be it. I find that pretty interesting. But the other thing about this location, we don't have the grace on this character, but right underneath here is the village of Albinarx. Now, this whole western coast is related to the Carrion family. And so I've always held that the Albinarx are a little more related to the Carrions than anything else. Well, the Carrions and the Eternal Cities as well. And we'll touch on the Eternal Cities. But I say that because, one, it's on the western coastline. Their village is on the western coast. And we've got this Moonlight Altar with a bunch of other structures up here, it looks like. So depending on what we find up here, it may lead a little, give a little more credence to them being related to the Carrion family. And you don't really find any Albinarx in the academy, but you do find some up here in the Carrion Manor, and there's even a specific Albinarch that actually is a retainer for Ranni. Is it Peta? I don't remember his name, but he does stuff with the puppets there at the manor. And another thing that makes me think they're more related to the Carrion family than necessarily the Cuckoos or the academy is the fact that the Cuckoos actually have an item that talks about how they are looking to cleanse such impure bloods from their lands, right? And so, to me, it makes it seem more Carrion family related. And then with the Eternal City, the Eternal City has had a lot of ties with magical locations. I mean, we've got the Academy right here, and the Carrion family and everything. What's right underneath it an eternal city of Noxtella, right? Yep, Noxtella. And then over here, there's another eternal city over on this side. And what's kind of in this region? You've got yourself, bam, the sorcery town of Celes and a chair cemetery or a chair grave spot, right? So there's ties with sorceries and the eternal cities and whatnot. And they have a lot to do with silver. So the Albanarchs bleed silver, so it ties together really well, right? But at any rate, we've got a little spot there, or we can just follow the path right up there, which is what kind of makes sense to me. So we're going to go ahead and head right on up. Pop one of these. And we already have a summon sign active, so you know there's going to be something gnarly. And what is it? A dragon, glintstone dragon, Adula. This is a dragon that ran away from us outside of the moon-gazing grounds at the Carrion Manor when we first defeated the Knight Loretta and we were going to reach Ranni for kind of the first time and realize that she is Ranni. Now, the glintstone dragons, they are glintstone dragons because they have consumed sorcerers, and by consuming the sorcerers, well, that's really unfortunate. By consuming the sorcerers, they have started to grow glintstone on their own bodies, right? And I can't remember, on the one we defeated, I believe it was Smaragd, right? I can't remember if it said that it was blocking their sight or anything like that, but you can see how it does cover their head and what seems to be a bit of their eyes. And something I had just started wondering here when I first recorded this section was, with the glintstone growing on their head like that, do they have a similar situation like Lasat and Azure, where the glintstone is kind of replacing their brain? And so, is that what's happening here? I don't know which does more damage. We're going to go in for the full combo here. Yeah, I think this is better. Oh, yeah. Look at that damage. Get the spell. Nope. More blue fire. Oh, shit. I might be in trouble. Run, 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 run. Normally I would ride Torrent to avoid that, but I guess I didn't really need to. Okay. Now, so I wonder if the brain isn't being made inorganic due to the crystalline growth going on there, saying. But why is the dragon here? Well, it has to be a tie with Ranni, because we're following the Ranni questline. Boom, spell. Look at that. Ice sword. Beautiful. That's exactly what I wanted you to do. Now you can die. So why is she here? It has to be for Ranni, because we find it outside of where Ronnie's at before, it runs away, and then when we get here, it's outside another spot where we are following in the footsteps of Ranni. So there has to be ties in there, and it's got Adula's Moonblade, and of course it's a Moonblade, which immediately ties it with the Carrion families. And you can even notice when it does a spell, it has ice particles and effects, which ties it right along with some of the other Carrion abilities, the snow ice ones, but specifically with Ranni's stuff, because she studied under the Snowy Crone. So Sorcery of Adula, the Glintstone Dragon, conjures a cold magic greatsword, can conjure a blade. Adula, a devourer of sorcerers, was bested by Ranni and subsequently swore a knightly oath to her dark moon. So what's interesting to me is this definitely makes it where these other dragons are actually intelligent beings, beasts implying that they don't really have intelligence, I guess. Though it might be a little funny in Elden Ring, considering the beasts of this world kind of have that whole five-singer thing. Whatever. Anyways, so a lot of times when you see these dragons, a lot of them have names and such, but they don't really do anything. We definitely don't talk to them. Nothing like that. When we fight some of the ancient dragons, like Lansu in the Altus Plateau, that one actively casts some kind of red lightning spells that it catches in its hands. And it also talks about how they become like a priestess, how they have like a cult, they became friends with the demigod Godwin, all these things, right? So they're definitely intelligent there, but these other ones, these other dragons, it's less apparent. The closest one you could make an argument for would be Ekazikis, who actually did fight on this guy, because he was upset at the dragon communion stuff, and so he sat outside the chapel of Dragon Communion to slay people who would go there for that purpose. And so there is intelligence in there. They can cast spells. It's just kind of rare, I guess. But the other part, too, to take with Adula is you think about sorcerers, like, well, she serves Ranni. Why would she devour sorcerers? Well, it's because the Cuckoo turned against a Carian family, and they marched on the Carian manor. So it's very likely that Smaragd and Adula weren't actually glintstone dragons before. It wasn't until the schism between the Academy and Caria that they then started devouring the sorcerers, hence why you find an Academy glintstone key in a body by Smaragd. And so after they start devouring so many of them, that's when they become consumed by the glintstone. Now, that's my headcanon anyways. But now we're here, the actual Cathedral of Manus Celes. Manus meaning hand, and Celes, I'm assuming, meaning celestial. I could be wrong, but hey. But looking at it, it's a pretty big sized cathedral. We've got the man statue standing out there again. I mean, comes in, this should be, it's very ruined, obviously, but it looks like there should be a huge hall going in right here until eventually you get into, I guess, this main section here where there would be the actual altar and two separate wings. There's a little star basin right there, a hole hanging out right here as well. And around the map, there's not really any other actual cathedrals. Like, this is a cathedral, not a church, cathedral. And there's not really any others like that. Right here is a Rose Church. It's a church. It's small. You've got the Church of Vows right here. That's a good size too, but you can see just from the outline of the structure right there, it's not nearly the same, and maybe not even nearly as large or expansive, though Church of Vows is very important, right? And even if we go to the Cathedral of Dragon Communion, which I didn't get on this guy. Where did you go? Ah, right here. Even that is it's not very large, right? It's fairly small. So there's not really any other cathedral things that are just at this type of magnitude, which is really interesting to me. But it's definitely tied to the Carian family, of course. And with the name of it, the Cathedral of the Celestial Hand. So what celestial hand is it talking about? And my thought would be, if it's the Moonlight Altar, it has to be with the moon. Because what is the moon supposed to do? It's supposed to guide the stars. And the stars hold the fate of the Carian family and even other things. Like we get the Amber Starlight, which is somehow different. I think because it has some ties between the Amber of the Erdtree. Amber is like the residual primordial life, while glintstone is the amber of the cosmos. So maybe it's some blending of the two in some fashion. But with the moon, since it's a guide, maybe it is like the celestial hand. It's something that is guiding things throughout the cosmos in some way, right? Because to me, it always did feel kind of, I don't want to say sinister, but it definitely has a hand in things, right? It talks about the moon enchanting them with all the stuff with Renala. It guides Renala and leading everybody to him. I mean, and again, even Renala, she started way out in the northern reaches at the Stargazer ruins, right? That was where the astrologers began as neighbors to the giants, and she followed it all the way around to here. You know, it guided her for some reason, for an ultimate purpose, right? Very, I don't know, the whole thing very interesting to me. But here we go. We find a hole, because in this cathedral, there's nothing here except for a hole and a bunch of starlight. So let's go ahead and put on a torch and see what we can find. That's all I got, steel wire, huh? What? Goes pretty far down. Reminds me a little bit of the hole left by the falling star when we defeated Radon. There it is. We find Ranni sitting at the base of a really large set of two fingers. twisted, mangled, and wounded, dead. Not now, kitty. These two fingers are very interesting. Like, looking at it, compared to all the others that we've seen, it is incredibly different. The others, when you see them at the top of the Divine Towers, already dead, they look really old. And maybe eventually that's how this one would appear. But they are almost, what's the word? Basically wooden is what it looks like to me. The texture of it, with chunks almost burnt out of it. There's tufts of what seem to be almost hands or fibers coming out of them. They just look gnarly. And even the living one in the living two fingers inside the round table hold looks more like the ones on top of the Divine Towers, where it's just a worn, almost diseased looking thing. But these, the flesh appears almost whole outside of where I'm assuming Ranni gouged it away with the finger-slaying blade. It looks whole. There's not any other wounds or disease, pockmark looking things. And it's massive. It's so different. And is it because it held so strong to some other purpose? Because it was hidden away? Maybe nothing else got to it? It's not really clear. It's interesting. And now I'm going to mention something with the DLC. If you don't want to hear it, close your ears, I guess. But its texture and everything is much more reminiscent of Mater, the Mother of Fingers, to me anyways. Now, looking at the wound, I can assume she did that with a finger-sailing blade, because why else did she need it? And even when we first start getting here, and you defeat the baleful shadow of Blaidd, she mentions that she's coming for you next, two fingers, and she'll deliver on them like a grievous wound that will never heal. And yep, definitely so. And to me, it also makes me think of the rune of death that was carved into Godwyn the Golden's flesh. And you could almost say it is that, because it has a half wheel kind of spoke going on, right? Or a half wheel going on. And if those are cuts in it too, I'm not sure. But it looks like those could be the spokes of the half wheel of the centipede, right? But then we got Ranni here. Sitting there, she has no robes on. You can truly see that this is in fact a doll. And she's not active in any way, shape, or form. She's just there. So is she alive? Is she dead? Maybe the battle took a lot out of her. But our natural response is, of course, to put on ring. Because what else are you going to do, right? Yeah. She's already got a ring on, which is interesting to me. It'd be one thing if it was on a different finger, but it is on what would be your marriage finger. Then she fades out. Here she goes.
So it was thee who would become my lord. Perhaps I needn't have warned thee. I am pleased, however. Thou art a fitting choice. I go now to the night sky. It is there I shall find mine order. I bid thee travel the path of the Lord, and once all is done, we shall see each other once more.
Alright. So there's a couple things for us to basically unpack there. And also, I do want to note too, we got the Dark Moon Greatsword. But was she just gonna sit there until somebody showed up? Was she just taking a nap? What was she doing, right? But she seemed almost surprised. The first thing is, 'twas thee, it would seem, who would be my lord, essentially. Right? She seems kind of surprised. She says, oh, it's you. As though there were other options. And I guess the other option is probably to be Blaidd. And throughout the quest line, it happened a couple times, at least one other time, where we get, I think it's when we get the finger-slaying blade, and she says, oh, 'twas you and not Blaidd, it would seem, right? She's always surprised when it's us. We keep doing it. We succeed where her retainers have failed. We've done the thing. And every time she's just like, oh, it's you. It's you again. But we're a fitting choice. And so, but anyways, the whole thing basically tells me that there were options. We weren't the only thing. There were other opportunities from other sources to achieve her goals. And so it just, each time it happens, she's like, oh, all right, it was you. You were the one who managed to pull it off. So that's interesting to me. Then we get her thing where she's going into the night sky to find her order. And so having seen the other moon there too, is she going there to basically visit the dark moon and see what kind of guidance it has to give her? And when she talks about her order, is she talking kind of like how the golden order is? The golden order is derived from, I suppose, the Elden Ring, or some sort of interpretation of it, or an interpretation from the greater will. And so her going out and seeking her dark moon, is that going to give her, an order to impose upon the world if she takes a place of Marika? And then, she's also just tells us, hey, keep going, take the path of the Lord, and then she'll meet us again. So obviously we're still looking to be Elden Lord. So maybe regardless of kind of however they become a god or take the role of Marika, there still needs to be some Elden Lord figure, I suppose, which is interesting to me. Why? I mean, it kind of fits with a lot of the themes of the game, where there's a lot of kind of duality type things, where you have the gold and the silver. Just, I can't think of any other good examples right now, but you know what I mean. The game has had a lot of just two sides to things. And so maybe just to be as a good counterpoint to this god figure, there should be an Elden Lord. Maybe. I mean, they did call Radagon back to the capital to be Elden Lord. So maybe once Godfrey was gone, they said, hey, we have to have somebody here. So who knows? At any rate, we are going to go out and we're going to explore the rest of this plateau. It has some interesting things. The best place to start is down here. There's several things for us to go and check out. So one, we've got a tower thing right here. If we follow this along, there is a jail. You can kind of tell from the picture of it right there. And then there's a couple sets of ruins. That's the Lunar Estate ruins. And so we're going to go through and hit each of these things. And before I forget, we also have to read the description on the Dark Moon Greatsword. A moon greatsword bestowed by a Carian queen upon her spouse to honor a long-standing tradition, one of the legendary armaments. Ranni's sigil is a full moon, cold and leaden, and this sword is but a beam of its light. So, it definitely, with her dark moon that's cold and leaden, the Moonlight Greatsword does frostbite buildup when you do, what does it standard? Do it standard? Yes, it seems like it does. But it does frost buildup, and that's not what Ranni's does. Ranni's is pure sorcery. And so maybe these change depending on the queen that would bestow the sword. And also, since it is bestowed by a Carian queen upon her spouse, with Ranni, she did get married to Radagon. So did she bestow a full moon greatsword to him as a type of thing? But it is a pretty cool sword. I wonder if I can get a good view at it here. Very nice. If you can get in close, you can see that it has almost, I would say, to me, it looks like little bits of frozen leaves. Kind of see them branching out a little bit. I guess it could be sort of just frozen ice spike type things. It's pretty cool. It's a good sword. Here we are. So whose rise is this? Telona's rise. No idea. The only rises that I've ever been sure of has been Renna's and Ranni's. That's been it. But it tells us to seek out 3 wise beasts. So we need to go around the whole plateau and find them. This one could be pretty obnoxious to find it for your first time going through. I think the turtles are supposed to be hints of where these things are at. But luckily, I did do this pretty recently, so I should, yeah, I was going to say, I should be able to do this fairly quickly. And a red wolf. And 3 little altar things, too, that always seem to have smithing stones on them. Oh, I messed up that dodge. Jerk. The wolves, always interesting. I mean, oh, Lord. The wolves that they follow the carrion family is pretty, you know, expected. They're wolves. It's the moon. Howling at the moon, etc., right? Of course. Though, that there's always these red ones is interesting to me. Because the red, I assume, is just kind of, it comes out so much faster than I expect. Red is much more related to Radigan, right? And so why are there so many of these red ones around? Can I get him good? Nope, made a mistake. I like that combo, but you got to be in just the right place to do it. Woo! Get my butt kicked, dude. Stop. I like that. I took out Adula fairly easily. I did Estelle in the first try with this character. And this is now actually my 3rd attempt at this stupid wolf. He was, god dang it. Oh my god. He is absolutely wrecking me right now. And it makes me sad. Jerk. Nope. Ugh. Finally, dude. Lord. Alright. We're at the jail cell now. Ringleader's Ever Jail. So which ringleader is this going to be? This is also going to probably take me a few tries to win. Because this is a pretty tough fight. So let's take a look and see who's in here. Alecto Black Knife Ringleader. Now, why would there be a black... god dang. A black knife in here, right? So, we know the Night of Black Knives was perpetrated by Black Knives under the direction of Ranni. She basically said she stole the Rune of Death, leading to Godwin's death, also that she could use the ring, or yeah, use the Rune of Death to basically get rid of her own body. And so why is the ringleader in here? So I guess, you know, got captured. All right, got it. But why is it here? Because this is, I would assume, kind of under the control of Ranni to some degree. Though, I guess if this section was actually under Ronnie's control, it probably wouldn't have become such a big deal for her to get here. She would have gotten here a lot more easily, right? But the reality is, it took her a whole journey to make it here, and she really only made it because of our help. And it was actually under the control of that 2 fingers, right? Because who is sitting here at the chapel? The 2 fingers that Ronnie's been battling against. So this section here was actually under the 2 fingers control, which means they got a hold of it and captured this ringleader, Alecto, and put her in here. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it, huh? Now we'll see what happens when we get through it. She's pretty tough. I'm actually doing better than I expected. Maybe I can take the second to charge the blades up again. Nope. I don't have any heals left. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm alive, dude. Wow. Normally that is a death sentence for me. dude. She's so floaty. I think you get a big hit on her. Oh, could be bad. Oh, it's way too early. I'm dead. Dang. Honestly, did better than I expected. Nice. Okay. Had to really just get in the right mindset. Do it right. Play it clean, right? Black Knife Tiche. So we got some ashes from her. Well, we'll look once we transfer over. So defeat Alecto, ringleader of, I guess, Black Knives. So she was a leader of the whole Knight of Black Knives. All of them would have fell under her, I guess. And it's interesting that we get this from there. It's a spirit of Black Knife Tiche was one of the assassins who, on the night of the plot, imbued her black knife with the rune of death and slew Godwyn the Golden. She was the daughter of Black Knife ringleader Alecto and was killed protecting her mother during their flight from the royal capital. So what I imagine probably happened here, and this is not in any way, shape, or form true, right? It's just kind of a headcanon I've got going now. They snuck into the capital, killed Godwyn, and then were discovered, right? Because that's why they had to flee, and Tiche had to protect her mother. And so then she tried to protect her mother during their flight and was killed. And then I assume that Alecto, in the process, then got caught as well, which is why she's in jail there. Now, why are the ashes with her? You know, it's probably just a mechanic or a gameplay thing. It's not because a narrative reason or anything like that. I can't imagine anyways. So yeah, that's pretty much not. It's pretty interesting. Interesting that there were a number of them and they didn't all make it out alive. So, because a lot of how it feels is they came in the dead of night, the black of night, and then just slew him. And then were out like shadows and nobody was really any the wiser. But really, they did. They found out they were being chased out of the capital and some of them caught. So, it adds an extra little bit of layer to the story. Also, I feel I should note, there are Crystallians here, which, I mean, to me is not really surprising, because you do find some around in the lakes of Liurnia, but they have a lot of strong ties with the Academy. There's some oath between them. There's a whole cadre of students that study the Crystallian sorceries. There's our turtle. And, the other part is too, I imagine there is some amount of them that, you know, have a loyalty outside of the academy to the royal family of Caria. So, not surprising to me. Is there some other reason why there might be there? Yeah, maybe. I couldn't really say exactly. Also, there are dragons. Are they right here? Where are they at? There, yeah, see the dragons. I think there's 2 of them. Might be 3. Why are they here? Well, you have Adula, glintstone dragon. It's a she. But then you also had Smaragd up here. And I assume that it was a male. And so I imagine they were probably mates. And these are some of their offspring. Yeah. Again, nothing definitive. It's just my own personal headcanon. And up here we've got ourselves the... what are they? The Moonfolk Ruins. A nice little parallel to the Woodfolk Ruins in the Altus Plateau, in that forest, the mist-shrouded forest. Lots of these noble guys who are invisible, using what seems to be more incantation, golden abilities rather than sorceries. But a lot of the nobles seem to have more ties to the Erd Tree than Caria, but quite a few of them also seek out the wisdom of stone and Carian sorceries. And given the whole royal nobility of Carian family and whatnot, it makes sense that you're going to find a number of them in here. But Moonfolk, so again, just solidifying that saying, tying the Carian family with the moon, calling them the Moonfolk. So we still do have another set of ruins. It was the Carian Estate Ruins. So, with it being an estate, given that there is a Carian manor, I mean, it's just more lands for the nobility. And so, again, if the nobility were to live and reside up here with the estate ruins, some other moon folk, maybe some like slightly lower nobility, right? And then underneath it, you've got the Albinarch village. And so the Albinarchs live below, maybe would come up and serve the moon folk and the lunar estates and stuff between traversing here and the academy and everything. And there's a whole academy gate town. So, you know, it really comes together to me as a whole thriving kind of place. Lunar estate though. Yeah. What do we find here? The Wraith Worshippers. Why are they here? Well, you know, you find quite a few in this western stretch of Liurnia. You find them in the Laskyar ruins, and you actually fight a boss version where you actually find out that it is called a Royal Revenant in the King's Realm ruins right up here. And so you do have those connections here. And with him having 4 arms, it does feel very reminiscent of Ranni's body, and it sort of being a copy of the being a copy of her mentor, or a replication, something along those lines. But I do kind of find that these Royal Revenants, to me, I feel they have more in common with oh, bummer, I forgot that happened. I find they have more in common with things that are grafted than anybody with naturally occurring limbs like that. God, this is awful. And they got that big gouge in their abdomen still, which a lot of things tend to. Look how he has a crown too. Good God, dude. I hate it. I hate it. Spewing. Ah. I can't roll. Oh my God. I'm gonna die here. I missed. Wait, get away. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, I missed. There we go. Boy. Question is, though, what are we going to find here? Okay. Hidden spot. Inside will be maybe something super amazing and worth fighting these stupid revenants. Nope. Cerulean Amber Medallion. Nothing special in its description to help us out here. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it before in a different video, so if I'm repeating, I'm sorry. But, right, looking at these ruins here, there is a thing I've always wondered about. And it's kind of a tricky thing, because at the end of the day, this is a video game. So, you can't truly apply a bunch of realism to it. It's not, things that are in here aren't going to be 100% functional, right? The scaling is going to be completely wrong. All of these things, you know? So, but the thing I've always wondered about is you look at a place like Limgrave, which has its castle here. You've got some gatefront ruins, a section of ruins here, a section of ruins right here. There's a couple around, but it just, in a Summon Water village, but it just doesn't feel as though there's a lot. Like, not a lot for big armies and things, right? It feels like there should be more settlements outside of these few broken ruins. But the thing to consider is, this is just all that's left. It's not that there weren't more, but over time, some of the larger structures, like, this is what they've been reduced to. So anything else that would have been wooden or smaller in structure, size, whatever, it's just gone. Completely lost to time. And so this is all that remains to give you any kind of clue or indication of what was here before. But also, it's just a video game, so you know, can't dive into it too deep. I just thought that was kind of a fun thought and way to sort of justify it in my head and make it feel better. And at last, the last turtle. Seal in the Rise opens, so let's go check it out. Overall, pretty standard as far as gosh dang it, pretty standard as far as these rises goes. Studies, however you want to describe them. Definitely a wizard's tower. But what remains to be seen is what is at the top. Probably some kind of spell, could be a memory stone, who can say. You imagine it will be a little more special considering our location right now. There it is. Chest. Inside is Ranni's Dark Moon. Legendary sorcery symbolic of the Carrion Queen. Uses the caster as a vessel to incarnate a cold, dark moon, then sends it floating toward foes. The Dark Moon dispels all sorcery that touches it, and temporarily reduces magic damage negation for those it strikes. This moon was encountered by a young Ranni, led by the hand of her mother Rennala. What she beheld was cold, dark, and veiled in occult mystery. So, right, as we seen before, Rennala led Ranni out to where she found this moon. And, I mean, looking out here, right, there it is. Cold, dark, veiled, shrouded in occult mystery. And you can see how it might appeal to Ranni. And now I guess the question might be, how much is naturally Ranni? Or did the Dark Moon influence Ranni at all into the path that she took? Right? Because the full moon, I would say, guided Rennala into where she is now. I mean, well, where she used to be before other things kind of transpired. So it's just kind of an interesting thought there. And again, to me, with that thought of how much did it influence her, it is kind of the question of, or it leads credence to what the Snow Crone would have said of, be wary about the Dark Moon, fear it, be careful. But we're going to go here. So we need to talk to, we got one last thing to do, and that's to talk to Iji and whatnot. But if we go and talk to Iji right now, he actually has nothing to say, which is a little frustrating because I think having guided Ranni all on this quest and done this whole thing, we should be able to go up to him and say, hey, Ranni has done it, right? She defeated the two fingers that she's been battling with, and now she's going to seek out her new order. So, hey, congratulations, we did good. Let's get a celebration. But he doesn't have anything to say. But if you end up coming back here, we haven't seen Blaidd in a while. Now, on our other character, we actually did find him in the Forlorn Hound Everjail. He'd been sealed there by Iji, and Iji was worried about him because, hey, he was basically given to Ranni by the Two Fingers when she was an Empyrean. It's a sort of failsafe, just in case. But it has backfired. It didn't work, right? He's been serving her and helping her. He swore his own oath to her. But Iji was still worried about us, super paranoid, and put him in there. Our other character, we let him out, right? We hadn't seen him since then. This character, he's still trapped in there. But after you've done all these steps, if you end up coming here, you can see there's a body here on the ground. It's a Black Knife assassin. And given the fact that the ringleader... Oh, see, hold on. Blaidd, the half-wolf. So there he is. So he is aggro, obviously. He seems a little savage here. And I mean, he was still saying that he was there to help Ranni no matter what would happen. So, the question is kind of, why is he fighting us then, right? Ow. That's bad. Oh, I'm alive. Oh. Oh, that was a slow swing. I said I was going to do the other sweep up and then lunge. Like that. Oh, he did a follow-up. Ooh. I wish the sword would give... God dang. Would give us a moveset like he gets. But it doesn't. Yeah, so if he's still serving Ranni, why is he fighting us, right? Oh. Ooh. What timing. Nice. Sorry, Blaidd. Got his greatsword, his armor, and greaves. Right, so here's a little bit of a thought process I've had, right? So you have these black knives. Now, the black knives, if Ranni perpetrated the night, the whole murder of Godwin and stuff, why are they trying to kill her, right? Why are they here? And there's a couple thoughts. I guess there's a couple ways you can interpret it, right? I guess maybe they are still serving her, and Blaidd really did go mad and he killed them, but they've been servants. but we haven't seen them at all being allied to her at all yet. I feel they're more sent by the Two Fingers to kill Ranni. Now, why would they serve the Two Fingers? Well, they did get, some of them got captured, right? And who's to say all of them even served Ranni or were in on her scheme? Maybe she just pulled a close group of them together to do the action. Granted, what do they all have? They all have knives that use the Rune of Death. They're all twisted by it. So, yeah, who's to say? It's gameplay too. Hey, my nose is really messed up. Maybe it's allergies. But I think that they came here to stop Ranni. The Two Fingers knew what was going down, and so they sent him to stop her. And Blaidd should have turned against her, but he held on. However, right, he's still aggro. He went mad. And I think he was still being influenced by the Fingers, and they tried to push him to betray Ranni. However, he held on and was able to kill all of them to stop the assassins from reaching her, which makes me wonder too, if he had failed, would the outcome have been a little different? Would we have been fighting Black Knife assassins, right? But I think in him fighting it off, or the interference from the Two Fingers, he basically lost a semblance of himself, and so he could no longer distinguish friend from foe. And so he saw anybody approaching Ranni as an enemy, and so he just saw red and immediately tried to kill. The Royal Greatsword is an ultra greatsword, actually. Decorated in the Carian royal style, favored weapon of Blaidd. In defiance of the fate he was born to, Blaidd swore to serve no master but Ranni. As proof, the sword was imbued with a cold magic at the moment the oath was sworn. It's a pretty cool sword. It has definitely got that that Carian style to it, right? The gold filigree. It's got all the jewels and stuff on it, the blues, even some other green and yellow at the top I didn't notice before. It's a pretty cool weapon. I really like it. And then for his armor, it's well-worn black armor of the man-wolf Blaidd. The pelt serves as a cape protecting from cold. Blaidd was the blade of Ranni, but the cold bothered him anyway. Yeah, that line is so annoying. But the cold bothered him. They could have put anything else there, but they made a stupid joke. His gloves, though. Blaidd, who served as Ranni's shadow, was a loyal ally who would defy destiny itself if it would have him turn upon his lady. I mean, that's what he did there at the end, right? It's what he did. Hey, bud.
Oh, there you are. Good of you to drop by. Have you heard?
Oh, I guess I haven't talked to Iji since forever.
Her journey along the dark path of the It would not have been possible without you, as Lady Ranni's war counselor, and you and...
Yep. Blaidd's death.
Unthinkable. How could Blaidd? How did he break free from his
How did he
cell?
break out of his cell?
No. More importantly, Blaidd became a curse that plagued Lady Ranni. Yet even in madness, gave himself to her. I've made a grave misjudgment. And I thought myself a capable war counselor. I'll catch up with you soon enough, Blaidd. When I do, I only hope you'll accept my apology.
Right? Isn't that pretty sad? Because he sealed him away. And so then the question is also, how did he get out? Well, the Black Knives probably let him out because they said, hey, you're going to help us out. And so they got up to that point up in there, and that's when he finally managed to break free and defeat them, but he was driven mad in the process. And poor Iji realized, hey, you know, I shouldn't have done it. He did prove his loyalty to the end. He would have fought it. Yeah, and he says, I'll be following soon, which sounds awful. And there he is. There's Iji, consumed in black flame, and we can see there is some black knives around us too. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So they managed to bring him down. It looks like he killed them too, but the flames probably consumed him in the end. I do find it interesting that on his body, it's not the red black flames like we saw with Alecto when we were fighting her. That's the type of flame that comes off the blade. Even the blade, when we get it in the Altus Plateau, that's the type of effect it does, not the god skin black flame. Now, you can imagine it's probably because it's imbued with the Rune of Death. So maybe these assassins, the reason that their flame is different, maybe their blades aren't actually infused with the Rune of Death, possibly. It could also just be, again, another game mechanic kind of thing. But what do we find up in here? Iji's bell bearing and Iji's mirror helm. Now, I don't have the other helmet, but there's another one, the Nox mirror helm. It's a relic or ritual instrument used by those who were seeking to commit treason. It prevents outside interference. And so Iji's mirror helm, fashioned from crystal looking glass, said to have never left his head, easily broken, weak against striking, worn by those committed to high treason. It wards off the intervention of the greater will and its vassal fingers. Iji was afraid, terrified of his own treachery. So Iji was so afraid of himself doing something wrong that he had this crafted in order to prevent them from getting inside his head and making him betray Ranni. And I think in his own fear of his own betrayal, that's why he was so worried about Blaidd, that Blaidd would give in to it, right? Yeah. And then his bell bearing. I don't think his bell bearing has anything on it, but you never know. Sometimes they have stuff. It found upon his perished flesh. Yeah, bummer. But then that's pretty much it for this section here. I technically already have the video done for the next one, and we are going to be in the far north where we're going through Castle Saul, because that's where I'd stopped up there before we took this whole detour. But thank you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. One last thing I would like to throw out there, because I keep thinking about it and then I don't bring it up. Speaking of the moons, right? And even up here. So there's this whole place is the Three Sisters. And so you've got Ranni's Rise, Renna's Rise, and this other third one, which became Celes' Rise. Now, whenever I hear Renna, it makes me think Rennala. So it makes me think that this was Rennala's, and then maybe Rennala had two sisters, and then whatever happened, and so then Ranni took over this one, why it's called now Ranni's, and then Celes took over that one, which is why it's called Celes' now. But the thing with it is it has the same parallel with the three moons that we've heard of. We got the full moon, the Carrion full moon. We've got the dark moon of Ranni, and then there's a black moon of the Eternal City. So again, it's these threes with the moon. And even that has a lot of ties in with some old, like, traditional views of it, where you have the maiden mother crone that tie in with the phases of the moon. And again, you see it with Ranni being a maiden, Rennala being mother, and then the snowy crone is literally a crone. And again, all stages with the moon. So it's just another interesting thing to kind of connect and tie in there. It's pretty much it. So again, thanks. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And until the next one, take care.